Hello, my name is Julian with Coffee Reviews, and I'm going to be doing a coffee roaster tier list video. Now, I noticed there aren't any coffee roaster tier lists on the internet yet, so I figured this would be a perfect opportunity to make my first ever YouTube video on coffee roasters. And I will explain a little bit more about myself and the channel as well in further videos, but I'll go ahead and explain a little bit more about this list for right now. So I'm using Thrillist's 21 Best Coffee Roasters list from December of 2017. I believe Take Flight no longer is active as a business, so they're not going to be on this list. We're going to have Blue Bottle, Camber, Kova, Counterculture, Four Barrel, George Howell, Hart, Intelligentsia, La Colombe, Madcap, Manzanita, Merit, Onyx, Revelator, Royal Mile, Ruby, Say, Stumptown, Sweet Bloom, and Burv. Now, of course, none of these by any means are bad coffee roasters. They're all from the best coffee roasters in the entire country list, so everything on here is going to be a pretty good place. The categories we have world class, they're going to be the absolute best in the world. Amazing stuff that's still up there, quality just not quite as good as those top tier ones. Good is stuff that I would recommend, stuff that I would suggest, places I go to maybe fairly regularly. Um, okay, not my favorite, not my first choice, not necessarily a top destination for people to travel. And overrated is going to be anything that maybe has a little bit more acclaim, more praise from people than I believe is warranted. And this is all my personal opinion again, and nothing on this list is bad by any means from what I've tried. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. And the first place on this list is a controversial one, and Blue Bottle. And Blue Bottle I'm going to put in the overrated category. And nothing bad about Blue Bottle. They have tons of locations all over the world. Japan, Korea. I've actually been to their locations in Japan and Korea. They're just not my personal favorites. I feel like the bigger they became, the less quality their coffee was, in my personal opinion. I mean, you can get them at Whole Foods now in their cold brew and everything, but as far as their just straight up coffee goes, just not my favorite. And next on the list we have Camber. And Camber, I'm going to go with good. And Camber's out of Bellingham, which is just a couple hours from me, actually. And uh, there are some really good things about Camber. There have been some coffees that have kind of blown me away. There have been some really big name people in the coffee industry that have spoken to me about Camber as something that they really admire as well. Nice little shop up there in Bellingham as well. I've been a couple of times. It's a pretty neat place. The only knock I have is it's just not my favorite, especially up here in Washington. Their artist series was a tiny bit of a disappointment for me personally, but of course, still pretty good. And next we have Kova out of Portland, and Kova goes into the amazing category for me. Kova is my favorite coffee roaster out of Portland. I go to their shop every time I'm down there, every time I visit. A couple of shops now. Um, I've been impressed with their specialty coffees. I've been impressed with them as a whole. They have that perfect line between being too light in Portland, but still maintaining some very quality offerings for me. So Kova goes in the amazing category. And next we have Counterculture. And of course, of the big three, Counterculture, Intelligentsia, and Stumptown. Counterculture is my favorite of the three. So Counterculture, I'm putting in the good category. And I've been to a cupping. They do cuppings all around the nation. I believe it's on Fridays. Of course, had their coffee tons of time, an amazing espresso once. A huge pioneer in the coffee industry. I'll leave them in good. Good's good for me. Four Barrel also going into the good category. And Four Barrel is my favorite coffee roaster out of San Francisco. A really cool shop, really cool bag designs for them as well. Uh, Probably limited sample size with them. Bought a couple bags. They have you can find them in some places in Salt Lake City, funny enough, but pretty good coffee roaster for me. I'll leave them in the good category for now. And then another controversial one for me, I'm going with George Howell, and I'm going to put them in overrated. And one of my friends' favorite coffee roaster ever is George Howell, which makes this kind of difficult, but Um, Last year, I ordered 4 or 5 bags of coffee from George Howell, and none of them were my favorite. Like, nothing spectacular for me in any of those offerings. And I did buy some of their special limited time offerings, their limited coffees. And they do have a lot of limited coffees always on their website. George Howell himself, important figure in the coffee industry. Um, it's just not my thing. I've not my favorite, and I know that's controversial, but for me personally, George Howell goes in overrated. And Hart, I'm going to be putting in. Having some issues with the list here again. There we go. Hart goes in amazing for me. And when I was thinking about this earlier, my initial thoughts were to put them in good, but I feel like they're just under Kova. I visit them every time I'm in Portland as well. Always curious about their offerings. The best thing about them is they're incredibly consistent. I've never had a bag of coffee that I've thought was really poor. Um, there's kind of a taste and expectation with Hearts, and the bigger they've gotten, they haven't lost that. Heart's definitely an amazing coffee roaster for me. And Intelligentsia, the second of the big three, I'm putting in okay. The most will let me. I'm having some issues with the list again. There we go. Perfect. Okay, for Intelligentsia. And the first time I visited their shop out in Chicago, it was much better than anything I'd had from them beforehand. I've tried them in multiple cafes across the country, but it was actually in Chicago that they did the best job of their coffee, which is what you would expect. Um, the negatives, I bought a couple bags that I just wasn't impressed with. They had a Ethiopian geisha once that very much underwhelmed for me personally. Of course, huge pioneer in the coffee industry. Um, Cafe in Chicago is nice, but just for me personally, I'm going to leave them in the okay category. And then La Colombe, I'm putting in the overrated. And La Colombe, their shop in Chicago is stunning. I think their shops overall are just stunning. Beautiful coffee shops. Um, Back when I visited their shop in Chicago for the first time in my life, I was blown away by the coffee. It really helped kind of develop my coffee palate. Oh, I think what's happened since is they have been maybe focusing on other things. Their draft lattes, of course, become big. I noticed they have a cold brew in the store the other day. Um, and I did a cupping last year from La Colombe that was pretty disappointing for me. Nothing I thought really merited what I once thought was an amazing place. And for me personally, it's hard to put them any higher than that for me. And next we have Madcap. Madcap, I'm putting. I don't know if it'll go there. Madcap does go in the amazing category for me when it decides to go there. There we go. Um, Out of Grand Rapids, they do a nice job overall. They have a bunch of specialty offerings quite frequently. Uh, I seem to have some safety bags of Madcap if I'm ever low on coffee, just in case. I don't have any knocks on them really. Funny enough, a lot of places I go to in the country seem to offer Madcap, seem to really love Madcap as well. Definitely for me in the amazing category, up there with some of the best. And next we have Manzanita out of San Diego. And Manzanita for me goes in okay. And when I was in San Diego, it was really hard to find Manzanita in the shops, which I thought was kind of strange. Uh, when I was able to find what they had, just not amazing. Their shop itself is kind of out there. I mean, you have to rent a car, you have to go out there to. So I've never been to their shop, but as far as the coffee I've had from them, it's been just fine. Personally, just not my favorite. And next up, we have Merit out of Texas, and Merit goes in the okay category. And this is kind of difficult because I have had very limited. They're probably one of the places here I've had the least amount of coffee from. I believe they're out of San Antonio. I know they're out of Texas for sure, but um, I've only been, I know I've been to their shop. I've been once, and that's one of the few times I've ever tried their coffee. I look at their website a lot. Um, I haven't gotten around to ordering from them yet, so unfortunately for just right now, I'm going to leave them in okay until I get maybe more experience with them. And Onyx out of Arkansas, that's going into the world class category. And I'm going to stop myself from saying too many amazing things about Onyx because Onyx is easily one of the best coffee roasters in the entire world. Always tons of offerings, some real amazing people when it comes to coffee now. They had a what do you call those Christmas calendars? They had an Advent calendar last year that I thought was genius. Rare variety coffees, uh, always something new on their sites. Amazing coffee roaster, one of my favorites, three easily in the entire world. Spectacular, spectacular coffee roaster. And next we have Revelator, the blue bottle of the South, as it's sometimes called. And I'm going to put them also in okay. And I've been to a couple of their shops, Atlanta, Louisiana, and I mean they're good. I don't have anything bad about them. Yeah, I just not a personal preference for mine. And Royal Mile right here, I've actually never had anything from Royal Mile. I know they're out of New Jersey, and this is the only place I'm not familiar with enough. I've looked at their website a lot. I've contemplated buying things, just never gotten around to it. So Royal Mile, I'm going to leave off this list. And next we have Ruby out of Nelsonville, Wisconsin, I believe. And Ruby, I'm going to put in the amazing category when it goes there. There's a place, Milstead in Seattle, that carries Ruby a lot, and every so often I'll buy a bag of coffee from them. Always good. Across the board, there's a Harbinger in Fort Collins, Colorado, also used to use Ruby quite regularly as a guest roaster. Never had a bad cup of coffee, never had a bad bag of coffee from them. Quality coffee roaster. And next up we have Say out of Brooklyn. And Say I'm also putting in the amazing category. And Say is my favorite coffee roaster out of New York. I bought an Ecuador from them earlier this year that I thought was spectacular. I I wish I had a little bit more experience with them. I'm trying to order some more bags of coffee. I've had a couple, but from what I've had, they are right up there with every other place on that amazing list. Just tremendous coffee shop, coffee roaster. I want to go out there one day and see the cafe for myself. And I feel another controversial one here, Stumptown. And Stumptown, I'm going with overrated. And there's a Stumptown walking distance from me, and it's just, I don't ever go. Um, of course, huge pioneer, massive respect for Stumptown. They're now a name brand all over the stores. I personally, last couple of times I've had their coffee, just been a little let down. So for Stumptown, I'm going to put them in the overrated category. And next up, we have Sweet Bloom. And Sweet Bloom also goes in world class easily. And Sweet Bloom is my favorite coffee roaster in the entire world. I've bought every single bag of coffee they've released in the past couple of years, or at least tried it. Their Panama Geisha last year, their competition series, was my favorite coffee of the entire year. I have nothing but praise for Sweet Bloom, nothing but respect for everything they've done, and it comes as the most highly recommended, highly suggested place on this list. Just a spectacular coffee roaster for me. I mean, Onyx is right there with them, but both these two places are, there's always a bag of one of those two on my shelf. And then last, Verve. And Verve we'll put in the good category. That one also decides to go there. Verve, been to a bunch of locations in Los Angeles, been to the location in San Francisco, and even been to the location in the subway station in Tokyo. Uh, Pretty good coffee roaster. Once upon a time, I'd probably put them in the okay or overrated category, but the more and more I have of their coffee, the more I actually like them. Uh, not much more for me to say about them. Pretty good, pretty solid coffee roaster. So this is my list. Looks really good to me. I'm actually really happy with the choices as I kind of look on them. Again, nothing bad here, but I would love to hear if any of you agree, disagree with me, thoughts, opinions, any places you think you would like me to rate as well, anything you think may be too high, too low. Again, this is all just my personal opinion, so feel free to critique, offer your own opinions as well. But I should hopefully be having some more videos coming out soon and get you a little more acquainted with the channel and everything. So feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and until the next video, thanks.